The Los Angeles Clippers were recently eliminated from the playoffs. And there's a big question mark surrounding this team right now. After the Paul George-led team took the super juggernaut Phoenix Suns to 6 games, the question is Kawhi Leonard going to stay on this team that had decent success in the Western Conference Finals without him? So,
well, first off, I got to say, we were talking about if the Clippers could make a finals run a week or so ago, when Kawhi did go down, could they make a potential finals run with Paul George? And Paul George showed that he could lead a team. I think that's the reality that we saw in these playoffs.
Clear
look
takeaway.
back at Game 5, he's shown to be that he could be a leader on a team. And we knew that in his Indiana days. We even knew that when he was when he was with the Thunder. But now he's really shown it. Especially without Kawhi Leonard, who is, I think, who's obviously the leader on the court. With Kawhi, though, he does have a $36 million player option this summer, and so he can choose to decline it. And if he does, he has a multiple of suitors that are out there, obviously, for his signature, and it's Kawhi Leonard. Regardless of his injury or not, I still think he'll be one of the more hot commodities coming out of this free agency class.
You want to know what this reminds me a little bit about?
Yeah.
This gives me flashbacks to when the Warriors were playing the Toronto Raptors in the NBA Finals. And Kevin Durant goes down with his Achilles injury, and there's an uncertainty of what he's going to do. But with Kawhi, it's a little different because there's always an uncertainty of what Kawhi is going to do. So you get injured, your team loses, and what are the implications after? If this follows that path of the Warriors and Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard's out of there. The kind of scenario has already been set into motion. Kawhi not sitting on the bench with his teammates. He's sitting in a box with his kids. Like, okay, you're with your family, whatever, but that's your team down there fighting to try and make it to the NBA Finals, and you're not even down there with them to support them, help them, run some plays, coach up some teammates, and he's not doing that. It just seemed like he distanced himself from the team after that injury, and I think he's going to distance himself even more so this offseason by going to a new destination. Let's go over some of these destinations that are possible. As Heat fans, we've been saying Kawhi to Miami for God knows how long, since he was in San Antonio begging to get out of there. We've had that on the list, and Miami's a prime destination. He goes from Los Angeles to Miami. You can't complain much, especially with the taxing situation down here where you can save a few bucks. So
to LA for sure.
Yeah. Is Miami reasonable?
They are a reasonable destination. The big thing is if Kawhi Leonard does want to come here to Miami.
I'm a fun guy.
There were reports that Woj said that from what he's understood, that geographically this is where he wants to be at. However, there are teams in play such as Miami that could be a sleeper team. And with that being said, Miami would most likely have to do a sign-in trade to get Kawhi Leonard, and they would have to give up a few assets, Andre Iguodala, just to match cap, Tyler Hero, possibly Duncan Robinson or sign and trade, maybe Kendrick Nunn. They would have to do some sort of sign and trade.
Wait, let me stop.
The Clippers,
because if I'm Miami, I'm not doing that. You know why? Because I want Iguodala.
Of everyone on Golden State, open shot, fate of the universe on the line, or the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth, you better hit it. I want Iguodala.
So Miami is in play, just given the fact that, again, it's kind of the state income tax is a big key thing. It's also a big market commercially, which is something that Kawhi and his team usually look towards. That's what kind of the reason was he kind of left Toronto, was because of commercially it wasn't, as big as LA or Miami, and same thing with San Antonio. So that's also a big reason as to why why Miami's also looking at a suitable destination. And according to Stephen A. Smith, that low-key, Kawhi and Jimmy Butler have one of the better relationships in the NBA right now. Kawhi respects Jimmy's game. Jimmy respects Kawhi's game. and you look at it, it kind of makes sense, the pairing of the
Is
two.
Jimmy an upgrade from Paul George?
That's an
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think they both impact the game in a different way. You might look at it though as,
you might want to come to the culture rather than just Paul George.
Right. That could be it. You also could look at the roster and say, potentially Miami with Bam, and if they're able to keep, let's say a Goran or a Duncan Robinson alongside a Precious or whatever pieces they're also able to get in free agency. They're also being linked to Tim Hardaway Jr. as well. Whatever else they do in free agency, they could also pick up Kawhi Leonard and make it maybe a more suitable roster around him. They also still have Oladipo's bird rights as well. I mean, let's look at another team here, though. You mentioned Tim Hardaway Jr. Let's look at the Dallas Mavericks, who got eliminated by the Los Angeles Clippers. He was there Game 7. After the game, we saw Kawhi Leonard go up to Luka Doncic, whisper some words in his ear, which is very un-Kawhi-like. And who knows what that may be? He's like, damn, you're a baller. You need some help. I'll be there next year. Could that be the case? But if he goes there, honestly, it's Mavs in 4 every series. It's a much easier path for Kawhi to go to the Mavericks compared to the Miami Heat, just because, again, the Miami Heat would have to produce some sort of sign and trade, and LA might not accept whatever sign and trade that Kawhi that Miami proposes, and so it's a much easier path because they could just have to move a few contracts around. They don't even have to move around Kristaps' contract. They have enough to sign Kawhi on a max contract, and then you think about the pairing of him and Luka. I mean, we talk about in Miami, obviously Kawhi would come in there and be the number one player. I mean, now you think about it, 2 guys that are making all NBA first teams or just an all NBA team, 2 all-star level players as well, 2 superstars. That's 1A and 1B right there. And Kawhi doesn't even have to do a lot of the ball handling that he kind of does with LA right now. He could just leave that to Luka. And Kawhi can just create his own shot.
Catch and shoot game, where he's literally just able to let Luka facilitate, and Kawhi would be
find him in the corner, find him on the wing, something like that.
Now, is there any reality where a team like Boston or Philadelphia can be in the mix to potentially get Kawhi Leonard?
I mean, the article that we are referencing, talking about Dallas and Miami, they do mention it's the Ringer. The Kevin O'Connor does mention that the Knicks are a possibility as well. Think about it. There are rumblings and rumors that RJ Barrett is kind of on the market at the moment, is on the block. Just the Knicks probably don't want to get rid of him, but if a all-star level player is there, I think it's kind of the same thing with the Golden State with James Wiseman. They rather hold on to James. I think if the opportunity presents itself to get an all-star level
Karl
player
Anthony
next
Towns,
season,
for example, or someone like that.
For example. So yeah, if they could get an all-star for James Wiseman and the number 7th pick or in the 14th pick or whatever the case may be, and the fact that they also have not Kawhi, they have Klay Thompson coming back. I mean, it could spell that New York could also do the same thing, as well as that they rather not trade RJ Barrett. However, if there is an opportunity to make a deal happen, I think they could pull the trigger and make a deal happen.
For sure. Well, this has been an episode of the Banter Broadcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another great video where Brandon and I broke down the Kawhi Leonard situation. And let us know in the comments down below what you guys think is his best fit, his best destination this offseason. Whether it be staying with the Los Angeles Clippers and giving the team that just went to the Western Conference Final another run, or choose a new destination, team up with Luka or Jimmy Butler. Let us know in the comments down below. Like the video, consider subscribing, and we'll see you next time on the Banter Broadcast.